Okay, now let me share my screen. That's better to look at. All right, there we go. Now we're rocking and rolling. Let me open up the chat window. So if you can see and hear me and you are here in Zoom, tell me where you are tuning in from. I'm in Illinois, so we have snow. I didn't know we were having snow. It snuck up on me, but that's okay. All right, Michigan, so snow up there. Oh, and I forgot, let me know if you know what plan you're on. So in BookBrush, we have a free plan, and then our paid plans are Plus, Gold, and Platinum. And if you don't know what plan you're on, it's okay. All right. So Florida, but it's chilly by Florida standards. So I am going to Florida next weekend, and I'm not so excited about, I was expecting a little more sun, but maybe it'll turn around. All right, we've got North Carolina looking for snow tonight on the free plan. So you're in the right place to learn a little bit more about BookBrush and one of my cat writer friends from Portland. All right, folks. Well, let me go ahead and get started today. I'm Kathleen Sweeney with BookBrush. I'm the marketing lead and customer service manager here at BookBrush, and I love showing off the tools. Today's session is no exception. This is the box set creator, and you are in for a treat. So we've recently added a way that you can have your spines. So you know how you see the spines where they line up and form a picture, that you can do it in one batch. So you'll download them as a zip file. So it's super easy to do. So we will do a down and dirty easy box set, that example that I'm talking about, and then I have one more example. So 30 to 40 minutes, and you'll see a lot of cool things. So let's go ahead and jump in. If you are live with me here in Zoom, feel free to type questions into the chat. No question is a dumb question. So let's jump in. Where do you do a box set? It is the box set creator. So in the center where it says choose a tool to begin here, we are going to hop into box set creator. And when we were beta testing this tool, just a little bit of the backstory, we ended up finding out that a lot of authors have their front cover images, but they did not have the images for the spines. So we ended up building a way that you can design your spines here in BookBrush pretty easily. So that's what we'll show you how to do. Over on the left-hand side, it says choose a box set. And underneath, there's an important question that says, do you need to create a spine first? And you probably do. So that's what we'll jump in and do. Like many places in BookBrush, I will direct you towards community templates. I think these are an easy peasy way for you to get started and smoothly create what you need to without a lot of headaches. So you'll see on the left the tabs for my spines. Those are ones I've saved in the past. Then community templates, and then you can start from scratch, and we will do that in example number 2. But for the first one, we're going to hop into community templates, and we have a graphic designer who puts these together for us. And I'll just grab one. So you click and it puts it in the workspace. And then this works like the other tools for the editing and things. So we're going to work on spine number 1. We'll click where it says your book cover goes here. And then you're simply going to swap the cover. You can click in the top gray stripe where it says swap covers, or like the other tools, there's a lightning bolt next to it. So when you're in the cover area, you can also hover over that lightning bolt there. Either one, when you click, takes you to the covers that you've already loaded, or it gives you the option to do the drag and drop and click to upload if you still need to add a cover. So we will click our first cover here. I'll click on the text. So I'm going to change this one to type in when no one was looking. And then I have the option to change the font and so forth like you can in the other tools. So we'll click on font. And you'll notice in font, there are a lot of nice default fonts, and they're displayed here in the way they're going to look on your image. So if you choose those, then we can reduce the font size here. You also have access to the 1,000 fonts. So if you're in here and you're interested in fonts, I'm kind of crazy for fonts. You can come up here to the top, click add more fonts, and this routes you to the area with 1,000 fonts. These are Google fonts and they're free to use. So if you see one that you like, for example, let's say we wanted Oswald in the third column, second one down, you can just click and put a check mark next to it. Also, a special note here, on the right-hand side, you can upload your custom font. This is a nice idea if you purchase the font that's on your book covers and then you want to have the same look and feel on your spines, you could bring that in. And if you've already uploaded your font in another tool, like the custom creator, it will be there for you. So then we can manipulate this. We can move the book cover around if we want to. I happen to have kind of a long title, so I'm going to give myself a little more real estate there. Click on the number 1 and change the font if I want to. We could use the Oswald. And we'll just reduce the size. Now, just like in the other tools, you can use the eyeball icon in the lower right corner of the workspace to see what's outside the area. So that can help you if you want to bring it in here. And then we also have the centering tools that live right above the eyeball. It's a square that says toggle grid lines. One click for grid lines, which you could use those. Or the next one is the movable centering tools. Now, when I take my number 1 on the left, if I click to center it in the box, then when I click and grab, you can see those blue lines. And let me just move the background a teensy bit for us. We'll set this aside. I'm going to move the background down. Now you can see on the box for number 1, those blue lines are appearing. So I can make sure if I want it smack in the center, I can do that. Then we'll put this back up here. Bring my text back in, and this will be spine number 1. One other thing that folks sometimes like on the spine section is in the text editing area, the letter spacing over here lets you make it a little more compact. So if you do have a lengthy title and you need to scrunch it a little bit, maybe not this much, but you can make it fit a little bit better if you need to. Now with the letter spacing and anything that has a slider, you can move it with your mouse, or you can nudge it with your keyboard too, if you want to do that, to just move it just a little bit. So this is going to be spine number 1. What you'll want to do is in the top stripe, click Save as a Project, just like in the other tools. And then once you have it here saved, this is one thing that's different than the other tools. Click Download and Save in the top stripe. And then you're going to save it into spines. So this is a different little spot. You open up this twizzle, click Save into Spines. And once you see that magic book spinning, you know it's saved. So there's spine number 1. Now we'll get to work on spine number 2. So we can click the book cover, click Swap Covers. We'll put in book 2. I'll click on the 1 up here and change that to a 2. Now I'm cheating a little bit because the overarching title on this is the same. So we don't even have to modify that text box, but you sure can if you need to. But this will be spine number 2. I would encourage you to save each one as a project. In the interest of time, I'm going to skip that, but we'll have you make sure to save them just so if you want to come in and make changes, it's easy. Then we'll go to Download and Save, and we'll save this one as spine number 2. Open this up, save into spines. So you're probably seeing it's just a little bit of repetition here. Then we'll click, swap the covers, put in cover number 3. Where the 2 is, we'll change that to a 3 and rock and roll, download and save into spines. All right, so this will be a 3-book set. So we've just cranked out 3 spines. We're going to go to the left where it says box sets on the top left. And now we can create our box set image. You'll choose whichever one you want. So there's a thinner or a thicker version. We can just pick the thinner one for fun. And then you can see it can actually be anywhere from 2 all the way up to 10 spines. We did 3, so we're going to do the 3-book set here. So we'll click that, and then you're going to assemble it. So it calls for spine number 1 here first, and these say vertically. And I've done some other ones that are similar, but today's is right here. And once you click it, you'll see it kind of adds it here where you've picked the image. So next it calls for spine number 2. So I'm scrolling and grabbing that one, just a click, then spine number 3. Now this is a 3-book set. So the 4th image is going to be your cover. So we are in the spines tab here. We're going to go next door on the left to the covers tab, and I'll just put in the cover from book 1. All right, the magic is happening here to create our first box set image. Now there's no actual physical box being created. It's just an image. So it's super handy for your marketing needs. And look at that. We just created our first box set. Two things that you can do here. You can open up the Twizzle, save it into My Images, which means that when you go into the custom creator and so forth, you can add it to your marketing memes. So that's handy. And then click Save to your computer, and it's going to download directly to your computer as a PNG. So that's how quickly you can create, I call this kind of the down and dirty box set. So it's a pretty simple box set image. You've got it using the basics of a community template. You can easily personalize this if each of your books has a different color theme, and you can change the color, the background, all those different things. Any questions on what we've done so far? I should mention, if you're one of those lucky ducks who already has your spines, you can skip the spine design step. So when we clicked on the 3-book set here on the left, in the spines tab, there is at the top the spot to drag and drop or click to upload. So if you already have them, just bring them in. So there's that option. Sometimes let's do you need to create a spine first? And we're going to edit this one here, or we can bring in a different one. Sometimes what folks have is the full print wraparound, and they need a way to make the spine. So let me show you how you could do that here. I would just set these things aside. I'll delete the background that's here with the garbage can, and we can also remove any kind of filters and overlays and so forth. And then we'll go to background on the left, and you'll click upload an image, and we're actually going to bring in from my desktop the full print wraparound. So this will, oops, I went to the wrong screen. Here we go. It will bring in the full print cover. And I'll show you the centering tools again. There was a comment in the chat to make sure they missed how to do the centering tools. No worries, we will look at that. Now, this particular example is showing how to use, if what you have is your full print wraparound, you'll bring that in. I'm going to make it super jumbo and just scoot it over here. So we've positioned it in here, and it's important to make sure you don't leave like a thin strip of white there at the bottom. But then we can turn off the eye icon. And now we've just designed our spine, and we can save this as a project in our account and download it into the spines. You cannot edit what's there, but you could add to it. So you could come over to text and add a new text box. And we could put a 1 in here. And it could be right here. You could also, and I think this is a handy tool, you can rotate to the nearest 45 degrees. So over here on the left, underneath the add a new text box, you can just click rotate, and it would line it up nicely on the spine too. So if your spine doesn't have numbers and you want to add them, that's easy to do. Let's see. Somebody is saying the spine template is too big for my spine and shows more than what I want. It may be, you could try to make it bigger. I don't like to give no for an answer. So if you have a specific example like that, send me a note into the contact form. It's support@bookbrush.com. I'm going to type it in here, and I can look specifically in your account and see what we can do. I never like to say no, so maybe we can come up with a way to make it work. All right, so there's the email to send us a note. You can also send us a note in the top stripe. If you click this question mark that says help, it will route you to our support area, and there's a contact us button at the bottom. This is nice because you can differentiate the type of inquiry that you have. So if it's billing or technical or what have you, you can select in there. All right, so let's do another example. In the one we just did, we used the cover from book 1 as the box set image, but sometimes folks want to design a cover that would represent the whole box set. So we are going to hop into, for just a minute, the cover creator to do a box set cover. So you'll go into tools in the top stripe and navigate to the cover creator. So these two tools kind of dovetail nicely together. We'll go on ebook. We'll just choose Kindle real quickly. In the background step, I'm going to click upload an image, and I've already got it in here, but so you see the full process. I'll make my screen a little smaller here and bring it in from the desktop. And I'm going to make it larger. Now this one in particular, I'm going to use the eye icon here so we can see what's outside. And then we could also do the centering tools. So we'll talk about those again. The centering tools are on the lower right where you've got those toggle grid lines. So one click for grid lines and the next click for centering. So that gives you these movable centering tools here, and you can position them where you want to. So those are the centering tools. And when we do a text box in the next example, I'll show you my idea for that too. So since this cover doesn't quite fit, what we'll do is click Edit Background, and then we'll add a background color. When you choose a color, I like to use the Eyedropper tool. I'm working in Chrome. It works in every browser except Firefox, and it's some kind of Firefox issue. Oops, but we'll click here. Next to the current color, which happens to be white, there's a little eyedropper. So when you bring this over, it will match whatever is in the center. So even though I know this is probably black, there are lots of colors of black, so I can match it there. So there is kind of the background. Then we'll grab a quick text box, clicking text on the left, add a new text box, and we will call this Project Enterprise Box Set. So I actually hit enter after Enterprise. And I'm going to use this to cover the section that's specifically about one book. So when you do text editing, the top section is the text itself, and then below that is the text background. So we can adjust the transparency. We could make that a darker color. And I'm just resizing this so that it's basically going to hide the part that indicates that it's just about one book. And I'll make it no transparency. We'll center it. Maybe we could choose a font that looks a little more sci-fi. We'll try this Orbitron. Reduce this a little bit. So like magic, we're covering up this section that indicates that it's one book. You can also, when you're working with the bottom section for the text background, you could round the corners a little bit. We could do a shadow behind it. So just kind of a way to quickly personalize and make an image now that indicates it's a box set. Folks also sometimes bring in their covers as little thumbnails, or you can list where it says books 1 through 3. So those are all options for you as well. So save this as a project so that you have it handy if you want to make changes. And then you'll just download. And we're going to actually save this right into covers. So there's a handy little spot, same place that we were saving into spines. When you open this, you can save into covers. That way, when you're in the tool, assembling your box set, you can use the covers. I don't even actually need to save this to my computer because I was able to save it into covers. So now let's go on back over to tools and head back to box set creator. So this example is going to be where the background, the spines create a picture. So we'll choose on the left, do you need to create a spine first? And you do. And then this example, we're going to use the start from scratch option. This is if you want your whole spines to be that picture. Down here at the bottom where it says multi-spine creation, this is your ticket. So we are going to do 4 spines here. So as I increase this, keep your eye on the workspace. So it's giving you the number of spines you need. The green lines are where it's going to download individually. So then we're going to build this kind of from scratch. We'll click on background and we'll search outer space here. I'm going to drop this image in here, and then you can use the eye icon to see what's outside here. You could bring this over, you can make it larger, essentially just position it how you want to in here. And then we can add book covers and personalize this just how we want. So this actually came about, I don't know if anybody has used the new Amazon A+ stacked images, but we designed a way that you can then create those 3 in one batch and download them separately. Kind of the same thing with these spines. So this is really a game changer. If you want one of those box sets where you have one of those, a man or a couple or one of those images with a building, you can make that happen right here. So we can go to add your 2D cover on the lower left. So that will give us the option if we want our covers on here. And I want it small, so we will reduce it And it's optional to even have your covers as part of your box set image. I think it's kind of neat. I'm going to hold shift and just resize here. So we can add each of these, and let's do them at the bottom this time for something different. So we'll add that. Get that in there. And then I need a text box, add a new text box. So this one is called Operation Arc. Now, when you're doing a text box like this, I'm going to make it really long. And then we'll just click rotate to the nearest 45. So that gets us easily lining it up that way. And probably make it smaller, the font too. And you may have used this in other tools, but you can also duplicate your text box with the plus button. It's typically in the lower left corner, except for I turned it vertically, but then I can click plus and I can add each of these. So I'm just clicking plus to duplicate the text box. This is handy because then I know that I have the exact font, color, size, and it matches. So then we'll get these all lined up in here. I can use either the toggle grid lines, which are here, so I could just move them up and have each one touch if I want to. You could also just center them in the spine if you want. Put these in here, and then I'm going to add the books and change the titles, and we are going to be on our way. So add another one. And I'm not necessarily doing these in the proper order, but for the purposes of today's session, this is the order we have. So we'll add this one down here. I'm holding shift to make it a little bit larger, and then clicking on the text box here, and we'll change it to Cyborg's Revenge. So these are a little different because you're not working right off of the community template, but the results are really neat with how it looks with the spines. So then we'll do another one. Add this one. Oops, I added two. We'll delete it, no problem. So we'll move this over. Get this lined up in here. And I could also do the centering tool, so I could move this. It's this blue line. I can move it down here if I want that at the top of each cover so that I feel like I'm getting them perfectly lined up here. Oops. If you accidentally delete something, use the undo button to get it back. We'll make that a little larger. You can spend a lot of time fiddling with this. I'm trying to keep it speedy, but you get the idea. We'll get this one in here. And one more, add another cover. We'll add the key and position this one for our fourth spine. And this one doesn't have numbers, and that's fine. So sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. And you could add it if you want to, but I think we'll just leave this one as is. We'll change this one to the key. And then we're kind of set. So you've got your background image, you've got your covers at the bottom, your text boxes. You'll save this one as one whole project so that you have it. And here's where it gets cool. We'll go ahead and download. Now you're not going to save this into spines because it's one gigantico image. So we are actually going to save to our computer, and this is going to download in a zip file. So like when you do instant mockups or any of the other things that have more than one image, it's a zip file. So in my lower left corner, we've got the zip file, and I just need to do extract all to view these. So here are my spines. Now we'll close out. And now we can make the box set. So we'll go to box sets. We'll choose one with 4 because we made 4 spines. And then where it says drag and drop or click to upload, this is where we're going to put them in. So when I added this, here's my folder. And I could actually do, if I hold shift, I can choose all of them at once. So there's 4. See how they're all check marked? And I'm going to drag it over, and there's a tiny little 4. And they're dropping in. So now we'll just assemble it. It's calling for spine number 1, and this probably feels comfortable. This is what we just did. So spine number 1, spine number 2, spine number 3. I'm just clicking these. Spine number 4. And now we're ready for the front. So we did the 4 spines. and we go next door to the covers tab, and this is where we get to use our new Project Enterprise box set cover. So we'll click that, and the magic is happening in the background. I think it's faster when you're not streaming live, so just bear with me as that's spinning around. All right, so check this out. We've got that perfectly lined up spine image. You can open this up and save it into My Images, so you can use it in the other tools, and I'll show you that at the end. And then you'll also just click Save to your computer, and we'll take a look at our final version. So it's really neat if you have a detailed image too, with like a building or people, or I've done one with a handshake. Looks really nice, and it was pretty easy to do. It's just a little bit more involved than a traditional community template, but I think if you're part of the BookBrush family, you'll be just fine doing it. You're used to our tools. All right, so any questions on what we've done so far? I've got another example up my sleeve here for you, but I can pause and see if anybody has questions. I'll go ahead and refresh the browser and get ready for my next example here. If you're typing, I'll come back to it. Our next example will also be, do you need to create a spine first? Yep, so we'll do that. Click on the left, do you need to create a spine first? And unless you're doing the multiple where you want them to look like that with the start from scratch and download them all at once, I would do community template. So we can grab one of these in here. And let's see. I didn't really show you too many of them. Let's scroll down a little more because there's a lot of fun things in here. Now for this one, I'm actually not going to use the book on the cover. So we'll delete that. We'll set aside some of these things. I'm using the eye icon so I can see what I set outside, and I could actually just delete this background. And what we're going to bring in, and this is a really cool idea, is we're going to bring in our cover for the background. This way we have a spine that nobody else is going to have. So in the background step, you'll click upload an image, and the cover that I'm using is here, but so you get the full picture. I'm going to make my screen a little smaller and bring this in from the desktop here. Now it's tiny, so we'll click it, and in the editing tools, I'm going to make it extremely large. And we'll scoot it over just a little bit. And now here's where it gets neat. What we're going to do is just blur it like a whole bunch. The reason I love this example is your colors match perfectly. These are your colors because they're from your cover, but it's not going to compete because you've blurred it a whole bunch. So let's unblur to do some of the work. It's called Lawless Letter. So I can click on the text box and we'll put this in. Maybe I'll just make it kind of a white color. I do not necessarily need all that text shadow. We'll bring this over here. And so we'll go back now and blur. So we'll click on the background. And you've got this in here. Now, a couple other things that you can do. I'm going to move this to the top here. And sometimes what people like, instead of a number with a numeral, they like the words for the number, like the number word. So I'm going to type in 1, but we'll make it a lot smaller. And then we haven't gotten to talk about the images. So a neat little idea in the searchable stamps area. So when you click on the images tab on the left, there are 3 tabs. Community stamps are what we provide as BookBrush for our BookBrush community. My images are your things, like this is where we have our new box sets and so forth. Then in searchable, you have another 100,000 interesting vector images to choose from. So I'm going to search star for this example here. And we'll just use this one. Now you probably know this, but just in case, we'll make it a little smaller. And then you can also layer things with these 2 little arrows that go in front and behind. So we can send that backwards. And this is a nice time to talk about the centering as well. So when I click on the toggle grid lines, 1 click for grid lines, the next click for centering. When I click on this star, and tell you what, let's zoom in so we can see what we're doing. When I click on this star, we now have the blue centering line. So they appear when you select the element, essentially. Then I can make sure it's right in the middle. And I'll bring up the 1. Now, if I want to center the 1, I've clicked on the text box on the left. I'll click center. So it's centered in the box. Now I can make sure that it's centered if that's the look I want. All right, so we'll zoom back out. And one other thing I wanted to add is sometimes you want your name on the spine. So we can also add a new text box. The author's last name happens to be Fitz. When you add your own organic text box like this, it's vertical. And if you like that look, it's fine. But if you want it to be the other direction, I simply just grab it sideways. And then we'll do the rotate to the nearest 45 over here on the left. So rotate, rotate. I'll just make it a little bit smaller here. And this is how we could easily get the author last name on here too. So here we go. Let's make our title one a little bit larger. So it's the star of the show. And here's spine number 1. And it's pretty unique because it didn't have anything that came as a template. I'm going to click on the text actually, and let's do a black text shadow. So we've got a little bit of crispness. All right, so this is spine number 1. Save as a project. Get in that habit. I think you'll be glad at times that you have it saved. And then download and save. And oops, I saved it to my computer. I wanted to save it into spines. And then we'll do the next one. So this is number 1. We'll click on the 1 and save it as a 2. And this one doesn't actually have a second book. So we're going to take some creative license here and call this the next one, Creative or Crazy Kittens. If you're looking for super great suggestions for book 2 for yourself, I'm probably not your girl, but here we go. So this will be our fictional book 2 here, and we will save this one into spines as well. Save into spines. All right, so let's go ahead and assemble this one. We will go ahead over here for box sets, and we'll do the thicker one as the example. So I'm going to do 2. So we have the 2 spine set here. And then you just assemble. So spine number 1, we'll click on it. Spine number 2. And then so it's a 2 book set. So the third image is your front. So you'll go to the covers tab. And if you don't have it in, you can bring it. And we'll choose this one. Now my spines that I saved adjusted a little on the blur, but you're going to see how it looks, and it's pretty cool. All right, so check that out. It's a completely personalized spine. We'll download it and save it because nobody else is going to use that book cover, I wouldn't think, your book cover as their spine image, and the colors match and everything's really cool. You could even, on spine number 2 here, shift it over so that it even gives you a little bit of that color moving across if you want to. So many ways to personalize that. So that's the box set creator. There's one other place that you can do box sets if you've already done your spines. So are there any other questions here in the box set creator itself? If not, I'm going to head into the custom creator and show you a tip in there as well. All right, if you're typing, we'll come back. So I'm going to go into tools in the top stripe and the custom creator. And let's go ahead and just choose a Facebook ad just so we have an ad size selected. Now, when you go into book template here, a lot of folks don't really use this right here, but if you need it, you can click on the box sets and then you can choose whichever one you need. And if you've already saved your spines in here, you can access these and you can make your box set image. So let's just pretend to do a 2 book set here. This one, spine number 2, we'll go to our covers tab and we'll do a miniature project enterprise here. So a lot of folks save them into images, but you can also just quickly assemble it in here if you need it. So that's easy to do. Let's also look at community templates here. So say you're going to come in here and do a quick community template. Let's just look for Facebook ad as an example. What you can do for this example is just delete the one that's here. So we'll just simply use the garbage can to delete. Then you can go into images on the left. In the My Images tab, here's what you've already saved. So you could easily come in and grab this and use it for marketing in here. So I can resize. And if you like the arrangement, somehow I feel like the text should sort of face the book. But you can move these things around. But it's really easy then to do your graphics for your box set images, and either from scratch or from any of the community templates that we have available in here. So that is Box Set Creator 101. I really feel like you can save yourself time and money. So it's not just something that you would have to have a graphic designer do. I think you can do them yourself in BookBrush, which means you're saving the time of waiting for the graphic designer to get it done and send it back to you, as well as the cost, because this is included. The Box Set Creator is Gold Plan and higher. So if you have Gold or Platinum in BookBrush, you have access to this tool. So any questions from anybody that's live, let me know. I am in Ask Me Anything mode this Friday. We can go back to Box Set Creator if needed. All right, so if you registered in Zoom, I'll send this recording out this afternoon when I get it back from Zoom, so you can watch it again if needed. And then if you have questions specifically, send us a note on the contact form to our help desk, and we're happy to help if you have questions. All right, well, thanks everybody for the kind notes in there. Have a great afternoon and a wonderful weekend, whether it's snowy or warm, wherever you are. All right, take care, everyone.